Greetings, and thank you for joining us for the 38th episode of DC Animation with Spencer and Friends. This is an LMG Podcast Production. Today, I'm joined by a dear friend.
What's going on, Spence? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm ready. I'm ready to talk about your boy Bruce.
Excellent, excellent. Can you tell the people who you are?
My name is Kelton Mims. I got to meet Spencer at work and found out about his podcast. And I told him that I was, that I dibble and dabble in the DC animated movies, here and there. And he came up to me and asked me if I wanted to be a guest on his podcast, and here we are. So thanks for having me on, bro.
Oh, of course, I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, man, I'm
Um,
excited.
Real quick, can you tell the people about your DC consumption? So, do you consume a lot of movies, a lot of comic books, video games? What DC do you take in?
I think the most DC that I take in is probably the movies. Um, I really hate reading, so I've I've done just a few a little bit of reading, but my consumption mainly comes from the movies, not so much the video games, but mainly the movies. Now, if we're going to Marvel, that's probably where it's like kind of a good balance of both the reading and the movies and kind of the video games. But DC is just mainly the movies and a little bit of reading.
Okay, okay. Excellent. Well, I appreciate you for joining us on this journey through DC animation.
Thank you.
Today's film is Batman Hush, released July 19th, 2019, and the comic book on which it was based is of the same name. I'm going to read a synopsis in my own words, and then we're just going to talk about it.
Sounds good.
So, we open in Gotham City, where Bruce Wayne is attending a gala where he finds Selina Kyle. He introduces her to his old childhood friend, Thomas Elliot. Bruce then gets word that Bane has kidnapped a child for ransom. Batman is able to get there, save the child, and subdue Bane. Then Lady Shiva shows up and asks if Batman knows about someone that used the Lazarus Pit. He doesn't, but he will look into it. While that was happening, Catwoman was able to get in there and steal the ransom. As Batman is chasing Catwoman, his line gets sniped, causing him to fall and hit the pavement. Some miscreants find him and attempt to take him out, but they are stopped by Catwoman and Batgirl. Batgirl assumes that Catwoman is working with Bane, so they begin fighting, but Catwoman decides to make a strategic exit. Catwoman delivers the money to Poison Ivy, and Poison Ivy is visited by Hush, who gives her some kryptonite. Batman is taken back to the Batcave, where Alfred and Nightwing create a story about Bruce getting hurt, so that they can take him to the hospital. Back on the clock, 2 weeks earlier than recommended, Batman goes to Blackgate, where Amanda Waller is having Bane moved. Her tranquilizers didn't work on him, so he escapes and goes after Catwoman. Batman helps Amanda Waller recapture Bane to save Catwoman, who persuades Batman to let her help with the Poison Ivy situation. They find out that she is in Metropolis, so Bruce uses an interview with Lois Lane as a reason to be in Metropolis. Batman visits Lex Luthor to get the delivery schedule for a compound that Poison Ivy uses. And Catwoman goes to visit Poison Ivy, and of course, they start fighting. And then the men show up. Batman saves Catwoman from almost getting killed because Superman is here and he is being controlled with kryptonite kisses. Superman is sent to kill Batman, so Catwoman pushes Lois off of a building, which snaps him out of his mind control. They capture Poison Ivy, and she tells them this plan was concocted by Hush. Batman goes on a proper date with Selina, and Hush has kidnapped the Joker so that Harley Quinn will do his bidding. Harley is sent to the opera to kill Bruce Wayne. Catwoman shows up to save Bruce, and then Batman shows up to save Catwoman. Batman goes outside and finds his friend Thomas Elliot dead and the Joker standing over him, claiming to be innocent, but Batman beats his ass, coming dangerously close to killing the Joker. Luckily, Jim Gordon arrives to, talk him down. At or after Thomas's funeral, Batman confirms the Joker's innocence and deduces that Hush knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. The Riddler is then spotted making some noise in the streets, so Batman and Nightwing go out there to handle it. This allows Batman and Hush to have their first confrontation, which is mostly just threats and broken glass. Batman then tells Selina that she should leave town and uh reveals that Bruce and Batman are one and the same. So they take a trip to the bedroom and get it going. And then they go to the Batcave where she is introduced to the rest of the Bat family. There's a short montage of them fighting crime together, and then Selina suggests a vacation for her and Bruce, but, Bruce doesn't want to really do anything until Hush is caught. Commissioner Gordon then calls about an alarm that was tripped at Thomas Elliott's practice. Bruce and Gordon investigate that while Nightwing and Catwoman go on patrol. They find themselves at Thomas Elliott's grave where they are attacked by Scarecrow. Catwoman is able to defeat Scarecrow but gets knocked out and captured by Hush, and Nightwing is taken back to the Batcave to heal from his exposure to the fear toxin. Batman and Commissioner Gordon go to interrogate the Riddler. Turns out Thomas Elliot tried to operate on his brain tumor but failed. So he uses the Lazarus Pit, which opened his mind and let him know that Bruce Wayne was Batman. He then enacts his plan, which needs to stay hush hush. So Batman realizes that the Riddler he's talking to isn't actually the Riddler, so he cuts the control device out of him because it turns out it was Clayface. He is able to defeat Clayface and makes his way to the Riddler. Batman arrives and, they start throwing hands. And during their fight, Batman starts talking that Batman says to the Riddler, "Oh, you was talking that shit earlier." And so Batman starts talking that shit, which makes the Riddler's confidence a little shaky. But just as the Riddler is about to claim his victory, Catwoman frees herself and she saves Batman, which allows them to tag team his ass. Riddler is about to fall to his death when Batman attempts to save him, but Catwoman cuts the line so they can escape the explosion. After they escape, Bruce and Selina have a philosophical disagreement, and Selina ends their relationship. And that's the movie.
Man, it was a movie. That's
Kelton,
for sure.
what'd you think of the movie?
Man, I don't even know where to begin. I I would say for starters, can we start with the whole Batman Catwoman dynamic?
Okay.
I just thought that it was very. I'm not really sure if I've ever seen Batman uh that vulnerable or allow himself to be kind of soft in a way at any moment. But Selena had some sort of grip on that man to where he couldn't resist. It's kind of like back in the day, when you were young or your college days, whenever you were single, you got that old flame that every time you see her, every time you think about her, you just get that, you just get that feeling about her. I really feel like that's Bruce with Selena, and I think she really got the best of him in this movie because although he didn't let his focus like get away from what was at hand, he definitely was not trying to push her away. So
Okay.
I thought that was a cool that was probably one of my favorite dynamics of the entire movie.
Okay. I like it. So before we get really deep into the movie and all of the character here, what did you think of the art style?
Uh, I like the art style. I don't think I've ever had an issue with any of the DC animated art styles. I've been a fan of all of them, so that was never an issue to me. In fact, uh, I think the fighting scenes in the animation movies are better than the live action ones. So
Oh, absolutely.
yeah,
The fight choreography that they have in these animated, they be good looking.
bro, they're elite.
Yeah. Okay. And what did you think of the voice cast?
I like the voice cast. Was the dude that played Batman? Is he a majority of the animated movies, or is somebody
In
else?
this universe, he is. So this movie
Okay,
exists in the DC animated movie universe. So started with Justice League War, and
yeah,
then
okay,
yeah.
yeah,
So this movie is in that same universe. So uh, the guy's name is Jason O'Mara. He is
yeah.
Batman in all of these. So
Okay, so he was Batman in the Long Halloween, right? Or was that somebody
no.
else?
So we haven't talked about Long Halloween yet, but I think Long Halloween is Jensen Ackles.
Okay.
So yeah,
Was Jason O'Mara, was he Batman in Under the Red Hood?
no, Bruce Greenwood was Batman in Red Hood.
Dang.
So he is Batman in Son of Batman, Batman
Uh-huh.
versus Robin,
Uh-huh.
Batman Bad Blood, uh, Superman, the Death of Superman.
That's Superman.
He's Batman in all of those movies. So Thrones of Atlantis, the movies that exist in this universe. Justice League Dark.
And Apocalypse.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha. That
yeah.
makes sense.
So, he's probably my third or fourth choice for Batman, honestly. I think he does a pretty good job. It took some time for me to get used to him because,
Hmm.
Kevin Conroy is my Batman.
He's a legend. Stamped.
Yeah. And then Bruce Greenwood is probably my second choice. And
That's
then
fair.
yeah, Jason O'Mara is probably my third. But
That's fair.
yeah. I ask everyone that question just because it can vary, and with the different movies, because some of them exist in the same continuity, some of them don't, and
Hmm.
so you'll get different art styles, and you'll get different voice casts for these movies
Yeah.
because some movies will stand alone, some movies will be a part of like a smaller little subset of movies, and then some, are a part of the larger continued universe, much like an MCU. And so
Yeah.
that's what this is. This is pretty much DC animated MCU.
Gotcha.
But okay, so um Bruce and Selena. Now, there is a movie that I discussed a little earlier in this series, Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Now, that movie is much older. It
Hmm.
happens in the OG, like Batman the Animated Series universe.
Hmm.
And in that one, we see Batman get pretty vulnerable with a lady. Now, in that one, there are some circumstances because Batman is actually prepared to choose the lady over the night and revenge, but or vengeance rather. And she gets into a situation where she has to leave, and so he kind of is like, okay, I guess Batman is plan B
Right.
because in that movie we basically see a situation where he realizes that putting himself in that kind of danger is not something he can continue to do if he's going to have somebody that he's got to come home to.
Right.
And so we often see, I won't say often see, but there are a lot of times when Batman has to weigh, am I Batman or am I Bruce Wayne? Am I going to choose the streets or am I going to choose the sheets, honestly? Like, do I deserve to be happy? Because happiness was never a part of my plan once I lost my parents.
Ever.
And he almost, whenever he is happy, he almost feels guilty about being happy because he was like, I never planned on this. Like this wasn't on the agenda. Like I wasn't
Right.
trying to be happy, but I done accidentally stumbled on somebody who's ready to love me
Facts.
because the whole billionaire playboy thing. Like he had to be a playboy because he couldn't get attached. Like his lifestyle does not facilitate him getting attached for two reasons.
At all.
One, he doesn't want that to be a distraction to him, but also he doesn't want that to be used against him if anybody does know that he is Batman, which we
Right.
run into. He says to Selena, hey, whoever this is knows who I am. They're coming after my loved ones. I need you to leave town. And so that's often why he does not choose love. But we see Nightwing being like, you need somebody. Like, you are, at the end of the day, you are a human person. And
Yeah.
so you not only do you deserve love, but you need somebody to keep you human, honestly.
Right.
And so, yeah, a lot of character in this.
Yeah, Batman ain't ever trying to hear, the humanity advice. He's just so focused on he's just so tunnel vision, man. And I think that's one of his. It can be like kind of a blessing and a curse because there's some
Mhm.
things that he can miss out on, but then at the same time, he saved so many people in so many situations just because he's so freaking focused on just saving the freaking city of Gotham. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So I think that, like I said, I think it's a major blessing and a major curse all at the same time. But I think he kind of experimented a little bit with it in this movie as well with Selena. But then I think he got to that point at the end, which I know we'll get into at the end whenever they had that disagreement, that heated disagreement, and I think that's when he also realized like, dang, maybe I really can't do this for real.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's just we're just going to go through the movie
Cool.
and we'll just talk about the things that happen in it. Before we do that, are you familiar with the comic book?
I'm not familiar with the Hush comic.
Okay. So I will kind of fill in some gaps. It's been a long time since I've read it,
Mm-hmm.
but there are a lot of people who would argue that this is very unlike the comic book, and I would argue that it's pretty close. They do change some things because of what happens in this universe, but for the most part, it's pretty faithful. But there are some major differences.
Gotcha.
So in this movie, it is Bane that is like the muscle that's used in this situation. But in the comic book, it was Killer Croc. So that's
Mm,
one difference. But we see that, Bruce Wayne is, just being rich and, it may even be his gala, but he's there. Selena's there, of course. Thomas Elliot is there. And, Thomas Elliot, he gets dropped by both of them because, there's some shit going on.
mm-hmm.
And so Bruce sees that Bane has kidnapped a child, and Batman is like, that's out of character. And Batman is able to pretty immediately notice that Bane is stronger, but less intelligent.
Right.
And whenever I was watching this movie, I was like, well, yeah, now that I think about it, because I was like, why did you need to do that? But yeah, you need to dumb Bane down because Bane is the one who did figure out that Bruce Wayne was Batman without
Mm-hmm.
any like help. And so Bane's intelligence is very high. So if you want to manipulate him and make him a part of this operation, you need to dumb him down.
Absolutely.
And so that was one of the things I'm glad that they did that because like I mean, of course, Batman is getting manipulated through this whole thing, but if you want to fold Bane into your whole like plot, you gotta be real good. And
Yeah.
so I'm glad that there was a way to basically say like he's a lot stronger, but he's not his normal eloquent self. And it's like, all right, cool, that makes sense. Because if he had just been able to fold Bane into his plan, I would have had questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Because Bane is one of those dudes. I'm kind of glad that it was Bane in the movie instead of, now that you mentioned the comic. I'm kind of glad that it was Bane versus Killer Croc. I just really like the Batman versus Bane dynamic, and Bane being super smart and super strong, but then seeing him, like hearing him talk like a caveman in this movie, I was like, there's something going on. Like I knew like instantly, because normally Bane, like you say, he's very intelligent, but his vernacular is very, it's very wide. He has a huge, strong vernacular.
Yeah.
And I would even compare it to the
Oh,
Dark
you
Knight,
think
the
the
Dark
darkness is your ally?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
No.
I would even compare it to the Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah. You
Because
only
his
adopted the dark.
exactly.
I was born in
I
it.
was born in
Raised bad.
it. His monologues, man, his
His monologues were
monologues,
so good.
bro. his I think his monologues in that movie are what saved that movie. But that's another topic.
Yep.
But to your point, I fully agree because if as long as Bane was dumb, I think that Batman was in a way better situation to you know fix the whole
And I also think it may have been an homage to the 90s movie where Bane was just a henchman of Poison Ivy, because that's kind of what he was in this movie, was a henchman for Poison Ivy.
he kind of was, a little bit.
But Bane gets subdued, and I noticed usually to subdue Bane, Batman will cut his lines.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that bothered me was Bane didn't, like, usually when you cut his line, he shrinks.
Yeah.
He did not.
Nah, he didn't affect him.
Yeah, he was still the same size, but
didn't
okay. And maybe that's the new shit he's on. I don't know.
Maybe.
But, and so Lady Shiva shows up. Have you seen Lady Shiva in anything?
Whenever she came into the movie, I was trying to figure out who she was, and then whenever they mentioned the League of Assassins, I was like, oh, okay. I just know a little bit about them. I don't know a whole bunch, but I've definitely heard of her before.
Okay, yeah, she just kind of shows up. She's very like, you catch her in a hand-to-hand situation, it's not gonna go well for you. Like, she's one of the baddest. And she's one of the League of Shadows head people. And so she's kind of just used as a hench person to like be a boss fight and then get dealt with. But she shows up, and she's kind of like peacefully shows up and is like, "It was great to see you work." Question.
Right.
Somebody used the Lazarus Pit. Do you know anything about it? And Batman was like, "No, but I mean, I guess I'll look into it, because if they see you, that means it's serious."
That's what I'm saying. Like, you can have emailed me that, or I couldn't have got that in a text. You go pull up on me while I'm in the middle of something.
And another reason that she's got to be very important is because in this universe, in earlier movies, Raish and Talia are both dead.
Oh.
Yeah, we see Raish die, and that's why Damian is with. That's part of why Damian is with Bruce. And we see Talia die in. Is anybody ever really dead? But
no, they're not. No.
But anyway, so he says he'll look into it, and then while that's going on, Catwoman, sneaks in there to steal the money.
Right.
And Batman is like, this is not jewels. This is not, precious artifacts. This is not.
What's going on?
What are you doing?
Everybody tweaking.
Yeah, everybody's not themselves. And so, of course, they start this whole chasing thing. And for her, it's a good time. They're just having fun. And then his line gets cut. And she's like, oh, shit, he's not chasing me anymore.
Right.
And he, like, this is one time I remember seeing Batman, like, noticeably nervous. Like, Batman doesn't get bothered often, even when stuff is not going well.
Right.
But, like, while he's falling, I'm like, he is not okay.
He's stressing.
He understands what's about to happen.
Right.
And it made me, like, nervous. I was like, oh, shit. This is not good.
Yeah, when his line did get cut and he wasn't able to, I was waiting for him to use like one of his grapple things.
Yeah, like another one or something.
Yeah, and whenever he was like falling, and then once I realized that he didn't have any more, any resources to save himself, I was like, oh, this guy is cooked.
Yeah. And the same thing. Like whenever he wasn't saving himself, I was like, oh, what you just gonna hit the ground?
Spence, he fell hard.
He hit the pavement, like
concrete.
Oh yeah, like because when he landed, I like cringed, and
bro,
it hurt me.
Didn't move as soon as he hit the ground.
Yeah,
did not move. And at that point, I'm watching a movie, and I know it's a movie. I know it's animation. I know it's fictional. But at that point, I said, this Joker is going to find a way to survive this.
Oh, of course. It's Batman.
I was like, that is the biggest fall I think I've ever seen him take.
Yes.
on
Yes, it is.
concrete on
Yeah.
his back.
Yeah. He landed like, and yeah, he busted his head open because he was bleeding. And so, of course, some random thugs are like, look what fell out the sky.
Right.
And so
Yeah,
they decide, let's just see who he is. And of course, he's set up for that. Like, you're not gonna touch you're not gonna
exactly.
touch my shit. And so they're like, all right, that's fine. We'll just take him out. And so Catwoman appears and Batgirl appears as well. In the
Hmm.
comic book, I think it was Huntress instead of Batgirl.
Oh, okay.
But
Mm.
they the criminals are stopped, and then Batgirl is like, hey bitch, you had something to do with this.
Yeah.
And so they start fighting, and Catwoman is
Right.
like, I mean, I get it, but Catwoman is like,
Exactly.
I saved him,
Yeah.
but I don't need to fight you.
But okay. Yeah.
Like, get him some help.
Right.
That's what's important. Help him, and I will be on
I
my
should
way.
I should be at least your concerns right now.
Yeah, get him right, because nah.
So I do have a question.
Yep.
So what was like, is there a significance uh like in it being Huntress in the comic versus it being Batwoman
I don't
or Batgirl?
I don't think so. So in the comic book, Oracle is Batgirl. So she's, on the communication, and she's the one in the chair in the comic
Hmm.
book. I don't think we have seen Huntress in this universe. And if we have, I don't recall seeing her. So
Was she
I
in
don't
Apocalypse?
I don't think so. We'll see when we get there though.
Okay.
But I don't think that there's any significance. I think it was similar to the Bane Killer Croc switch out. Like, I don't
Hmm.
know that it mattered too much. It may have just made more sense in this universe than adapting it straight from the comic book.
Okay.
So I think that
That's
that was
fair.
just one of those swap outs, like nothing too serious.
Okay, that makes sense.
So Catwoman delivers the money to Poison Ivy, and one of the things that's interesting is sometimes her pheromones don't work on women, and sometimes they do. And so this is one of the times when I guess they do. So Poison Ivy has Catwoman doing her bidding, and then Hush shows up, and Hush is like, "I got something for you," and gives him some gives Poison Ivy some kryptonite. And whenever he did that, I was like, "Oh, I know what that's gonna mean. I know exactly what we're doing with that." And so Batman is taken back to the Batcave, and they're like, "Hey, we have to get him to the hospital. There's no way. Like, this is beyond. Like, we can't fix this." And so, oh, maybe this is why. So Nightwing says to Batgirl, "Hey, crash a car, make it look pretty bad."
Right.
I Maybe Huntress wasn't the one for that job. I don't know, but he says, "Yeah, we need Bruce Wayne to be able to go to the hospital." Now, in the comic book, Batman, the same thing kind of happens. He's all fucked up, and he's able to communicate to Alfred, "Hey, get me Thomas Elliot. He needs to be the guy to handle this."
Mhm.
And then we kind of find out who Thomas Elliot is. So, are you familiar with Thomas Elliot at all?
No, I think actually this was the first time I was introduced to him.
Okay. So, Thomas Elliot is a childhood friend of Batman. Their parents were good friends.
Yeah.
And Thomas Elliot's parents were in a terrible accident. And Bruce says, "Hey, my dad's a doctor. He's the best one. He can save your parents." And so Thomas Wayne, who is Bruce's dad,
Hmm.
he tries to save Thomas Elliot's parents, but he's only able to save Thomas Elliot's mother. So not able to save Thomas Elliot's dad.
I actually have heard this.
Okay. And so, Thomas Elliot gets all pissed off and is like, "You lied to me, yada yada," just, mad, and 8 years old, whatever.
Right.
And so we will talk about the reveal later on. So, they need to come up with a story for why Bruce Wayne needs to go to the hospital. So they do, and he gets all fixed up. Thomas Elliot's like, "Is this the only way we're gonna hang out?" Like,
Right.
you got to come to me broken. That's,
Hmm.
you know what? That's okay. And Bruce is like, yeah, I've been a terrible friend. I'll
Hey,
try to be
hey,
better.
at least he can admit that. That's a step.
Yeah, like I'm busy or
Right.
whatever, but I'll do better. I'll try.
Hmm.
And so, Batman goes to Blackgate, and Amanda Waller is there. I assume you know who Amanda Waller is.
Oh yeah, I know exactly who that is.
I love Amanda Waller, but I love thick Amanda Waller. I want Amanda Waller to be heavy,
Right.
and this Amanda Waller wasn't, and that's okay. And she was voiced by Vanessa Williams, so those two things wouldn't have made sense.
Hmm.
And I don't hate Vanessa Williams voicing Amanda Waller.
I actually liked Vanessa Waller's voice in this. Uh, One thing I didn't do before the movie, which I don't know why, I didn't look at the cast, which I
I,
which I always normally do that when it comes to kind of any movie I watch. But
Mhm.
for some reason, I like overlooked it like a few times.
I will usually wait. I don't want to look at the cast before I watch the movie because I want to see if I can hear anybody.
Okay, that's fair.
Like whenever like in this universe, Lex Luthor is Dwight from The Office. Like that's one you
No,
hear.
he's not.
You can hear it. Like if you really listen to him, you're like, oh, that's absolutely Dwight.
Oh, I need to go watch it again.
And he didn't do a lot of talking in this movie.
He didn't.
So if you watch Death of Superman or Reign of the Superman, that's when you're like, oh yeah,
Okay, now that you said that, I'm like I'm listening. I'm rewatching that scene of him whenever Batman pulled up to his freaking bedroom at 3 a.m.
yeah,
and I'm listening to that scene again. Wow, I did not know that was Rainn Wilson.
yeah. And so that's
Wow,
see, I try not to look at casts until after the movie because I want to see if I can point anybody out.
that's fair.
And he was somebody I knew immediately that's who that was.
See, I didn't even know. I didn't know that he did voiceovers.
I don't know if he usually does, but I just know when I heard that, I was like, I know who that is.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, they are at Blackgate and they're moving Bane. And
Mhm.
Bane is on that new shit. And so Batman is like, hey, them old tranks you got, that's not good enough.
Yeah, that ain't working. That ain't working.
And not working at all. You gotta do something a little more. Now
Yeah.
I got some good stuff. I got some shit that'll work. But we need to make a deal. And Amanda Waller is one of the few people who is not afraid of Batman. Like she is
At all.
unbothered by
Unbothered.
him. Like she's one of the only people on Earth who's
Not
like,
phased.
yeah, do you know who I am? Do you know who I am?
It's like that. It's like that auntie you got that you just every time you
Yeah,
get around her, she don't play.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
yeah, Amanda Waller, yeah, she unbothered by Batman,
that's
and
auntie.
yeah, and in this universe, she we see in a previous movie, Suicide Squad, Hell to Pay, that
Mhm.
she has terminal cancer. So in this universe, like she's on her way out.
Oh, so she's already on edge.
Yeah. Now she feels safe because in that movie, they have the whole premise of that movie is they're trying to get a card that if you have it when you die, you just go to heaven because you have the card.
Mhm.
And so she has the card. So she's feeling pretty good.
She's good, but still on edge because she knows she's gonna die soon.
Yeah.
Or
Now,
yeah,
and she doesn't know the situation with the card, but she does have the card.
right.
So, um, Batman is like, I got some tranquilizers that'll work.
Hmm.
So let's make a deal. And so Bane escapes because Bane is after Catwoman because
Yeah,
he's
he
pissed.
he wants the money.
Yeah, he's like, where's my money?
Right.
I need that.
Yeah.
And Catwoman is like, hey, I don't have it. Poison Ivy tricked us both. Well, then why are you alive then? I will break your shit right now.
That's the
Where's my
alternative.
money? Like, Bane was not okay.
It's like, okay, well, no money. Well, now I need to kill you.
Yeah, okay, yeah, why? You don't need to be here then.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And so luckily, they fill him up with them.
Hey, you got they that scene. I was like, oh my god, bro! As soon as they pulled up, bro, they mauled him.
Yeah, brrr, like
Literally.
they filled him up with the moose tranquilizer. I was like, God damn.
I was like, golly.
Yeah, because that's I was because I was like, it's Bane. That's what you got to do. But like, you emptied the clip on him.
That was almost excessive.
That's what I thought. I was like, that's a lot of tranquil. Like, he might die.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I low key felt. I'm not gonna say I felt bad for him, but it's almost like you see somebody who kind of deserves, deserves something coming their way, and then it happens to him. You're just like, golly, I didn't,
Yeah, like,
yeah,
okay. That was a lot.
yeah, he got mauled, bro.
Yeah, they lit him up.
Mauled.
That's how it had to be. And so they Catwoman gets saved, and Catwoman is like, hey, I have a personal, like, Poison Ivy took me over and I took that personal.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna need to help you with that.
Right.
And Batman is like, I don't think that's a good idea. And she's like, I can be rather convincing. So let's do this. Like, aren't you curious at all? Like, don't you want to see?
Hey, Batman didn't even think about it.
He did think about it. He thought about it, but then he was convinced very easily.
It didn't take long for he was like, all right, I might as well.
Like, all right, you've convinced me. All right, I'll let you win this one.
Yeah. Then she kept winning.
Yeah. Yes, she did.
Yeah.
And so they find themselves in Metropolis. And Bruce is like, well, Batman has no reason to be in Metropolis, so let's get Bruce Wayne in there. And, he uses an exclusive interview with Lois Lane as his reason to be there. And in the comic book, I'm pretty sure he already owns the Daily Planet. And I think that's why he makes the joke, what if I owned the Daily Planet?
Okay.
Because there are a lot of times, like, I think in the live action movie, we see that Batman buys, like, he's like, well, what happened? I bought it. Or maybe there was like a bank that
I remember
about to foreclose on the house or something. He's like, I bought the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. And so he goes to Lex Luthor's house at 3 a.m. And I don't know if you go ahead.
I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
Being pulled up on at 3 a.m. in my room. How did you get in there? First off. 2, it's 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm dead asleep.
It's 3 a.m. What the fuck are you doing here?
You couldn't wait?
You could have sent me a text message. You could have, like, why are you here?
You sitting over my bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, and
how long have you been here? How long have you been looking at me while I sleep?
And then you expect me to help you right then and there for me to snap out of it.
Now I gotta get up with the sleep mouth and everything. And you'll notice Lex said that he was a probationary, or he said he was a member of the Justice League,
mm-hmm.
which, and probationary. So that comes from the movie Reign of the Supermen. And in that movie, Lex is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of that movie, because Lex was important, Lex is he walks into the Justice League headquarters like, hey, like, while they're having a meeting, he's like, I would like to be a member. And everybody's like, well, you did kind of help. So, okay. Sure. Let's, yeah. You don't have full access, but
right.
Let's see how it goes.
It's like when celebrities get that honorary doctorate.
Yes, because in Darkseid is very involved in this whole thing,
mm-hmm.
and the Justice League is like, hey, Darkseid, like, all we've done is defend ourselves from Darkseid. We're gonna have to go there because he's not stopping.
Right.
So we gonna have to meet him at his house. And that's when Lex is like, and I'm coming too. And
All
so,
right, all right, Lex, come on.
yeah, okay. Yeah, get in the car. And so, Catwoman goes to see Poison Ivy and tries to convince Poison Ivy that she's still under her control. And Poison Ivy
Uh-huh.
is immediately like, "No,
No, you're
I
not.
I do this.
Right.
So I've already released you. So yeah, no." And so they start fighting, and then Batman shows up to save Catwoman, and Poison Ivy's like, "Oh, the men are here. Well, let me go get mine then." And then Batman is like, "God damn it, not him."
Yeah, yeah.
And he just busts in there. And Poison Ivy's like, "Look what I have."
Yeah.
Superman, go ahead and handle that lightweight for me.
Yeah. And I knew whenever like he went on the interview with Lois and Superman's eyes had like flashed green or something like that. I was
Yep.
like, oh, something's going on.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Whenever Hush dropped off the kryptonite, I knew then. I was like, "Yep, I know what that means."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so whenever Poison Ivy brought him out, I was like, oh, this is getting juicy.
Yeah. So, of course, Superman is sent to kill Batman,
Mm-hmm.
and Batman goes into the sewers because Lex is, he lined them with lead, and I'm like, and I'm sure Batman is like, "Lex, really glad you did that.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for that." Because we often see that Lex will be on house arrest or be in jail, and then he'll just escape freely, and
Right.
that's got a lot to do with how he does that, I'm sure. But yeah, so they go down into the sewers, and Batman says to Catwoman, like, "Okay, good, you know what the plan is. I'm about to put these motherfucking paws on my friend."
Yeah.
And so he gets the paws out. And in the comic book, I think it was just like one kryptonite ring. But in this, he got paws that he
He got
puts
he
on.
he got like them brass knuckles.
Yes, he does. And yeah, he goes to work
Yeah.
on him. Like he's giving him, yeah, just giving him the hands. And he's like, "And don't use your heat vision. Don't do that."
Yeah. That was a good fight.
Yeah. And so he, eventually is like, "I lied." But he's like, "Catwoman, you know what to do, right? Cool."
Mm-hmm.
So they figure there's one way to break him out of this. And so she gets Lois up high, and Superman hasn't broken out of it yet. So
Mm-hmm.
Catwoman makes an executive decision
Yep.
and throws her off, and that's what Clark needs
Yep.
to get himself out of it. And then uh Batman was like, "You weren't supposed to do that."
Yeah. Don't do that.
And Selena was like, "Well, that's what it was."
See, here's my thing about Batman, I'll allude to this again once we get to the ending. Can we get rid of the moral compass for 1 second and actually do what it's going to take to like solve the situation that we are in? I can only take so much of, this savior, this, doing everything right, trying, don't want to do anything that'll, cause somebody to die or anything like that. Dog, you have a Superman that's being hypnotized fighting you right now. We need to do something that might be immoral to snap him out of it to save everybody. And while Catwoman did that, Lois didn't die.
Yep.
So what are
It
you mad
worked.
at?
It worked. Like we got it done. And again, that's the character, because the whole point is once he crosses that line, he's no longer Batman. In
Yeah.
this case, because there
Mm-hmm.
are absolutely alternate versions of everybody who, do
Right.
everything.
Right.
And so, yeah, like the whole point of main continuity Batman is that he does not break that line.
Yeah.
And, we see that in a bunch of things, because in The Dark Knight Returns, part one, part two,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
that's when like that fight with the Joker is, oh, it's so good. But
Insane.
and that's when the Joker's like, "I did it.
Yeah.
I met my goals. I finally made you lose it.
Mm-hmm.
This is all I wanted. And I made you lose control, so I'm good to go."
Yeah.
And so that's Batman's whole thing is, maintaining that moral compass, not losing control. And we'll talk about that again later.
Yeah.
And so they are able to capture Poison Ivy, and Poison Ivy's like, hey, Hush did this. And so after that, Batman goes on a proper date with Selena. They go to the opera. And, they, shows up at her house and is like, you look ravishing.
Right. You look nice.
Yeah, looking right today. And we see that Hush has kidnapped the Joker and goes over to Harley. And Harley is like, hey, you need to do what I say because I got your mans.
Which Hush, the entire movie, I gotta give it to him. Hush's planning in this was top tier.
Yes, it was.
Because if you have Batman stressing,
you've done your job.
You doing something right.
Yeah, and that's the whole point.
Yeah.
And so Harley is sent to the opera to kill Batman. And, Catwoman shows up, Bruce shows up, all that, everything's fine, cool. Batman goes outside because Batman was there with his dear friend Thomas Elliot.
Mm-hmm.
Batman walks outside and sees his friend Thomas Elliot dead, and the Joker,
dead,
standing over him. And so the Joker's like, hey, buddy, I know what this looks like. Like, hear me out.
Right. Like I'm gonna hear you out of all people.
Yeah, the Joker's really like, dude. Normally, absolutely, this absolutely,
right.
Like I promise. Normally, this would have been me, but hear me out.
Yeah.
Batman is not trying to hear him out.
He ain't trying to hear nobody.
Ain't trying to hear nothing.
No.
Batman said that was my best friend, and he proceeds to beat the Joker's ass.
Dog.
It is
brutal.
Not looking good for the Joker. To the point where the Joker's like, please, it wasn't me.
Dog, oh my God. I really love whenever characters like that are like broken or they reach like that final straw and then they just go to town on whoever they're going against. Because I'm just like, dude, finally. Because like people like Batman, with all the combat skills he has and all the strength and the gadgets and everything like that, a lot of times I do want to see him just go, just going 30 with somebody, just pure throwing hands with somebody. And that scene, that was probably, just off the top of my head, I want to say maybe that was like probably top 3 scenes for me, the entire movie, because you could just really feel his anger. And Batman's like, dude, dog, that was my best friend.
Yeah.
You rarely see, like I said earlier, you rarely see Batman trying to defend people or like being vulnerable like that or letting people get to him or that attachment. Like you said earlier, you rarely see that from him. So for him to allow that emotion to overcome him and to just take his entire anger out on the Joker was something to see.
Yep. And that's the whole point here, is that they're going after the people who Batman actually cares about.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to make him lose control and all that. And so the Joker is, laughing because he's the Joker, but is also like, hey, it wasn't me. And so Batman is going to kill him.
Yes.
And he's going to do it with his hands.
He's
choking him out by after all the beating, he's just choking him out.
That's how you know he's mad. If he's beating you with his pure hands.
I'm doing it with, I'm going to kill you with my bare
myself
fucking hands. Yeah, I'm going to do it. I will watch the light go out. But I'm going to do it with my hands. So that's how you know it was serious. Because, of course, the Joker didn't know anything. He just woke up and walked outside.
And got whooped.
Yep. And I'm sure that Batman, because one of the things that we see in The Dark Knight Returns is Batman says, do you know how many people I have killed by letting you live.
Yeah.
And that Batman is different. Like that's my favorite Batman movie. But that Batman does not
That's a
play
good one.
around. Yeah. So that it had that same vibe. Like the whole like I've let a lot of people die by letting you live, but this one, this is the last no more.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so Batman is gonna kill him. And James Gordon is like, not him. Not like this. Because James
It's
Gordon has got that same level of morality that Batman does,
yeah.
in regards to we don't do that, we don't cross that line, we can't kill nobody, and I will not let you. I won't. I don't want to arrest you for him.
Right.
Like he's not worth it. Like I don't want
Right.
him to be the thing that like takes you to the other side. And so, luckily, he was able to talk him out of it. And so over at the funeral or after the funeral, because we see the funeral
Mm-hmm.
and Batman is like, I've been going to too many goddamn funerals.
Yeah.
We see Batman and Nightwing just kind of going through everything, just kind of talking it out. And honestly, I'm glad that Batman has someone to do that with.
Right.
And so he's just talking through it, saying, hey, the Joker was innocent. He woke up and just arrived there. And
Bad timing.
yeah, so I beat his ass for no reason. He probably deserved it, but not that night.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was warranted, just not that night, but it probably made up for some other things that he did
Yeah. And so he's
or
like,
was gonna do.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so he's like, okay, he probably didn't deserve that. But whoever's doing this, whoever's behind this whole thing, knows that I am Batman because
Mm-hmm.
that's the only reason you come after Thomas Elliot. Like
Right.
that's like that. So whoever's doing this knows me well enough to know like what is happening. And
Absolutely.
so then they see that the Riddler is in the streets, making noise, doing some stuff. And they're like, he hasn't been involved with any of this.
Right.
So, all right. I mean, I don't know if this is let's go get him. Sure. So, yeah, they go get the Riddler. And whenever that happens, Batman and Hush actually have a confrontation for the first time.
Right.
And Batman is like, oh, that's him. I got to go get him right now.
Yeah.
Right now.
Now.
And so, Hush is, making threats and just talking shit. And he, lures him into a fun house with all the mirrors and um, just talking more shit. And that's why, threats and broken glass. And so Batman eventually is like, all right, he is coming after everyone that I love. And that's what he said he was going to do.
And he's doing it
And he's doing it. Like I've
well.
seen it happen. It's
Yeah.
been going on. And so, Selena, you have to get out of town. You have to leave.
Yeah.
Because this is not going to work. And before this, Nightwing had the discussion of like, you should probably open yourself up and tell her who you are and all of that.
Yeah.
And so she's like, he's about to reveal himself. And she's like, wait, are you sure you want to do that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know you know who I am because you're in my
Yeah.
house, but
Even she was like, whoa.
and she was like, well, yeah, whoa, what are we doing? This is
Yeah.
I don't know about all this. And so he eventually reveals himself, and she's like, oh, Bruce Wayne, cool.
Cool.
I have a room back here. And so how about instead of leaving town, we know each other biblically? How about that? And so they go do that because they are flesh.
Immediate, like, hey, I'm Bruce Wayne and Batman. Oh, okay. Well, let's
Yeah.
just go back here.
No showers or nothing. Just
Nothing.
right to it.
No
And
questions.
yeah, it's
Just
like, no, all right. No, let's go. And so she's like, and then they're like, well, obviously you're not leaving town. She's like, hell no, I'm not leaving town.
No.
Yeah, I'm prepared for this.
Yeah.
Like I know what I signed up for in this regard. And so he's like, all right, let me take you to the house. Introduces Nightwing and Alfred. He
Yep.
says, "Hey, these are the other people that are a part of my life." He's like, "Oh, has she met Damien yet? Damien, you have a son?"
Hey,
No,
I'm
no,
not
we hadn't gotten there
look,
yet.
look, I'm not gonna lie, Norway was kind of a hoe for that. Like, how you
He
just
didn't.
like, bro? I
He
looked
didn't
at him like,
know
bro, come on, bro.
because Nightwing assumed that they had had that discussion, which was
Yeah,
fair.
that's fair.
Like
That's fair. That's
we
fair.
probably should have talked about that already.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because another thing that we see in previous movies is that Batman is kind of, or that Bruce Wayne is kind of forced to keep Damien's existence a secret
Yeah,
for business reasons.
business, strictly business.
Yeah,
Poor,
business
poor,
reasons.
poor Damien. But
Yeah. And
yeah,
honestly, he's fine. We see him later
Mhm.
with the phone call, which was hilarious.
Hilarious. Trying to give his pop some advice.
Matter of fact, let's talk about that. That phone call was so funny.
That was great timing in the movie for like that comedic relief.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, hey pops, what you finna do? Ah, be safe out there.
Yeah, he
I'm
basically said like
yeah,
this. So this is the main trollop,
yeah.
and
So
I was
this is
like,
what you doing.
trollop. Okay, we need to update your slang because he's Damien is the reason I know what harlot means because
Yeah.
in the first movie, there was a dude who was about to, he had some ladies of the night over, and
Hmm.
Damien was on a revenge mission, so he just
Hmm.
busted in and was like, "Leave, harlots."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, that's that's an old school term." And so yeah,
Yeah.
trollop is
Damien
in that same.
Damien using trollop is crazy at his age.
Yeah, but that's the thing. He was raised by Raish, who's 1,000 years old,
Very
and
true.
so yeah, that tracks.
Very true. And then the dog.
Yeah, that's the thing. That was Bruce's dog. Yeah, just in there chilling with the dog, and was basically like, and be sure to wear a condom. You don't know where these hoes have been.
What do you know about that, Damien?
Damien, what are you doing? Stop it.
Damien been in grown folk business too much, man.
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. He's been in grown folks' business way too much. Because what are you doing?
Bro, at the holidays, at Thanksgiving, we got the grown up table. The kids go sit somewhere else. Damien tried to sit at the big table.
No, Damien, yeah, he was trying to sit at the head of the table. And it's
Yeah,
your little ass
you better
over there.
go there with your cousins.
Yeah. So
That scene
um
was very funny.
it was so funny. And so Selena is like, hey, we should go on a vacation. We'll even make it an adventurous vacation. Like it doesn't have to be a relaxing vacation. It could be a go do shit vacation.
Yeah,
And he's like, no, we gotta handle this hush shit first. Like I can't.
exactly.
Like I don't have peace until this hush shit is over.
Girl, read the room.
Because I told you he's coming after my loved ones. I'm not leaving because I will come back and they will all be dead. I'm
We,
not leaving until this is handled.
we are literally in the middle of. You can see I am visibly stressed. You don't really ever see that with me.
Yeah.
And you trying to go on vacation? You trying to go to Cancun?
Yeah. I'm not okay. And we got shit to do. So once it's done, we can go wherever the fuck you want to go.
Maybe.
Yeah, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But until it's done,
Yeah. We're not
I'm
going
gonna be
nowhere.
I'm gonna be right fucking here
We're not going nowhere.
because I got shit to do.
Right.
We got somebody that needs handling.
And
So
somebody that knows my loved ones.
yeah. And that's like this is personal. So it's different. It's
Very personal.
personal.
Very
They know
personal.
Batman and Bruce Wayne. I cannot have that.
That can't go anywhere.
Unacceptable. So
Yeah,
now
absolutely.
that priority number one.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna handle that. And so Gordon calls and is like, hey, an alarm went off at Thomas's practice. And so they go investigate that. While Nightwing and Catwoman are like, hey, let's talk. Let's get to know each other. And so they find themselves at Thomas Elliott's grave, and it's Scarecrow. And Scarecrow's whole MO. He uses the fear
Yeah.
toxin.
Yeah.
And Nightwing had a pretty good idea that he had been fear toxined, but
Hmm.
like was still, in that mindset. So like
Yeah,
couldn't quite react the way he wanted to because he was afraid, but like I gotta fight for myself, but I also gotta like hit the EpiPen. So
right.
he had a lot of stuff going on. Luckily, Catwoman was able to be like, hey, Scarecrow, I wear nose plugs because of that poison ivy shit.
Yeah,
So yeah, you can't
you're
get
finna get
me.
me right.
Yeah. You got me confused.
This movie was deep with characters.
Yeah, they pulled out a lot of the roster.
I was not prepared, or I want to say prepared, but I was not. I'll say prepared for lack of better words. I was not prepared to see like Poison Ivy, Bane came out. Then we have Scarecrow. Then we have freaking
The Riddler.
the Riddler. Yeah, the freaking Riddler. Clayface,
Yep, we're about to get to Clayface.
Joker, and Harley Quinn. I was like, dog,
Yeah, they pulled out a lot of his catalog.
golly.
And the reason that makes sense
Yeah.
because that the whole premise of the movie. And so a lot of these things pretty well align with the comic book for the most part,
Hmm.
up to this point. The one difference is that Harvey Dent shows up in the comic book and he's, all bandaged up.
Oh, okay.
And we see in The Dark Knight Returns Part 1, we see
Yeah,
him bandaged up in that movie.
we do.
And it's the same thing. Like he's bandaged up because he got the gross half of his face fixed.
Hmm.
And so in this, Hush made him a deal. Hey, I'll fix the gross half of your face. Just do me this favor.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, Harvey Dent is involved in the comic book, but not here. And so
Okay.
whenever I first saw this movie, I was like, oh, it's Harvey Dent. Because in The Dark Knight Returns, I had seen Harvey Dent bandaged up.
Hmm.
And that was before I had read the comic book. And so Catwoman is able to, handle Scarecrow, and Scarecrow's like, he's like worried, like, no, this wasn't the deal. This wasn't what was supposed to happen. And so she gets knocked the fuck out. And, obviously it's Hush. And luckily Nightwing's taken back to the Batcave. So Batman and Commissioner Gordon go to interrogate the Riddler.
Hmm.
And he's explaining the whole thing. He's like, everybody thought that I was just, everybody thought I wasn't shit. And I had a brain tumor. And I called the one guy that I knew would be able to help me with said brain tumor. That's Thomas
Hmm.
Elliott. Thomas Elliott told me I need to get my affairs in order. And so I put him on the nigga go die list. But before that, I go to the one place I feel like can help me, and that's the
Yeah.
Lazarus Pit. So that's how we find out who had been in the Lazarus Pit.
Hmm.
And
Which was
he's
a
like,
crazy plot twist.
yeah. And
Because
so
let me tell you this first. When like, because I've seen like the Batman, I've seen the Hush like the cover of it and everything like that, and I've always thought like, because Batman has a deep villain roster,
yes, he
which
does.
is one of my favorite things about his character. Same thing with I've related to Spider-Man and Marvel. Spider-Man is my favorite character of all time.
Mhm.
Spider-Man has a deep villain roster. And so when I saw Hush, I was like, I never heard of him before. And then when they revealed that it was, Riddler after the Lazarus Pit, I was like, oh.
And so in the comic book, there are a couple more twists and turns.
Okay, so what happened in
Because
the comic?
so in the comic book, first we see Harvey Dent with his face all wrapped up. So we assume it's
Hmm.
Harvey Dent because we see him with a wrapped up face.
Right.
And then we see all of the Hush shit. And whenever Hush because in the comic book, I'm trying to remember. Again, it's been a while, but I think that Huntress gets herself in a bad situation and
Hmm.
Hush shows up. And Hush's bandages start coming off, and it's Jason Todd. Because in the comic book, they found like Lazarus Pit residue. And so um Batman goes to Raish. Batman goes to Raish's house and is like, hey, who been in the Lazarus Pit? And Raish is like, I don't know, but I don't like it. And so it's
Jason
Jason
Todd?
it's Jason Todd. But it's not actually Jason Todd, it's Clayface as Jason Todd.
Oh.
So like I said, they're giving you twists and turns and all kinds of shit. And then we eventually find out that it was the Riddler who had cancer, who used the Lazarus Pit, who came up with this plan, but like all that. So in this movie, it's actually the Riddler himself,
Mhm.
like who's doing all of the hush stuff. But
Oh
yeah, in
man,
the
I wish they
comic
would have
book,
did. I mean, now that you mentioned earlier that they probably like left some stuff out to align with the timeline of the actual movies, the animated movies. I probably need to go read the book now just so I can see because that would have been a crazy twist, man.
and that's like this is one of those things where it's like I think the comic book may have been a little better, just a
Because I
little bit.
love Jason. I love Jason Todd.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That again goes to Batman, like knowing Batman on a personal level
Yeah.
and
Yes.
really getting in his head.
Yes.
And so Batman eventually deduces, like, oh, you, and how Batman does it is in the comic book, Batman is like, I know you're not Jason because you haven't called me Bruce. So you don't know who I am. And I know that
Mm.
Hush knows who I am. And so Batman eventually, like, he deduces, like, oh, you're not Jason.
Hmm.
Same thing happens here. He deduces that the Riddler is not the Riddler.
Right.
And that's why, he basically like slits his throat and then realizes, like, oh, it's Clayface. And then Clayface
Clayface.
attacks him. And so Clayface is involved in both cases with some trickery and shape shifting.
Hmm.
And so Clayface gets handled. And then the Riddler in the movie just starts going through, like, hey, this is exactly what's going to happen. Batman is going to do all of this deductive reasoning and end up here
Here.
in exactly 3, 2,
To
yeah.
kicks door
So,
in. Yeah.
yeah. And so they start throwing hands. And during the fight, because the Riddler, he's he's explained everything, he's monologued, he's done all of the things, and Batman's like, yeah, that Lazarus pit kind of wearing off. You getting slow.
Hey, he started cooking him.
He started shaking him. And I'm like,
Dog.
because Batman was like, oh, you want to play mind games with
Yeah.
me?
Let's do it.
Let's play these fucking mind games then. Yeah, you
Bro.
go up with me. You want to beat a man, you gotta beat the man.
Dog, he was cooking him.
To the point, to
I'm
the point where he was like, no. Like he was shaking his confidence.
dog. Whenever that happened, like I literally said out loud, as soon as Batman just started getting on his head, like I immediately like said out loud, he is cooking him.
Yep.
Like to, to the point like dang, all right, my bad.
Yeah.
Relax.
Yeah. That's the thing. You never want a rematch with Batman, and it don't matter what kind of rematch it is. But he's like, "Oh, are we roasted? Oh, okay.
One of them, I know you ain't laughing.
Yeah, I know you ain't laughing. Not at me. With your old, yeah,
Bro, and just continued to
yeah,
gosh.
lit his ass up.
That was a good scene. That was a
Yeah,
good scene.
and it let us know that we're still dealing with the Riddler. Like
Mhm.
the whole reason that the Riddler did this was that he felt insecure.
Right.
And he felt like, oh, nobody takes me seriously. That's why I couldn't do this as me. I had to
Mm-hmm.
be somebody else because if everybody knew who I was, they would have laughed in my face.
You
And so,
C-list
yeah,
little villain is whatever.
yeah. So I had to be something else. I had to keep this on the hush, hush.
Hush.
Yeah. And then Batman hits him with that Seto Kaiba. You're a third-rate duelist with a fourth-rate deck. Like just hit him in the mouth. Like,
Dog
ooh,
hooked him.
yeah.
And honestly, Spence, I was so thrilled during that scene because I don't know if Batman has ever done that like verbally to anybody, but I've never seen that.
I've seen
I,
Batman cook people before.
okay, I maybe I have not that anything I can remember, But I was like, oh, he's on his head.
Yeah. It was not good.
I was like, this is bad.
Yeah. Batman has used that as a tactic before. There have been times when during a fight he'll just start cooking somebody and
Mm,
it will make them more like it will make them angry, which will make them less focused,
right.
which he can take advantage of. Um because in it, do you remember and this is kind of an example of it, but in The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 when he fought the
Hmm.
Mutant King,
Yeah,
the first time he lost to the Mutant King, but
he
that second
did.
time he came in there talking that shit
Okay, I remember. I
because he
remember
said,
now.
I don't need to beat him. I need to embarrass him.
Embarrass him.
I need to let all of his followers know. I need an audience and I need everybody to know that I'm the HNIC. And so Batman just, yeah,
That's
took
the
him to
one.
school that day.
That's the one where he was. That's the one where he was old, right?
Yes.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah. And he
yeah.
said,
I
this
mean,
isn't a mud pit, it's an operating table
he sure embarrassed him in front of.
in front
I
of all
mean,
his friends.
everybody,
In front of all of his friends. Yeah,
everybody, and the animation in those movies was top tier too.
yeah. He put him in an arm bar. Why?
Yeah, look, I don't know. I remember now that you said that though, but the what he did to the Riddler in this movie was just
Yeah.
demoralizing.
But there are times when Batman will decide to go psychological
Hmm.
and will use somebody's own um tendencies against them. And so
Right.
he basically like psychologically dissected the Riddler
Hmm.
because he like the Riddler basically said to him like I am insecure. And so Batman was like, got it.
Yeah,
You shouldn't have done that.
and I already knew that.
Yeah, I knew that in my heart.
Yeah,
But like now that I know that that's why we're here, because
game over.
and hush, Riddler, you made this personal. I didn't make it. You made it
You
personal.
did,
Yeah, you did this. So if we get personal, we get motherfucking personal.
and you can't take the heat.
Yeah. So yeah, he got cooked. But um, the fight has to happen. The movie has to happen. And
Hmm.
so things aren't going great for him, but Catwoman is able to free herself and they are able to, together fight him. And, he's about to fall to his death because there's a bunch of explosions and everything's
Right.
happening. And Batman tries to save him. And he's fully out of character at this point. Like he's back to his old Riddler self. He's no longer Hush. He is
Right.
the Riddler. And he's like, please help me.
Yeah.
And Catwoman is like, fuck that guy. Do you know what he's been doing to
Yeah.
everyone? But, and the
I was
thing
fully on
is,
Catwoman's side on this one.
absolutely. And I was on Catwoman's side for a couple reasons. Because, first of all, what he has done to other people, like he killed a guy, he has caused all of these issues, he manipulated all of these people, he kidnapped a child. Like, there's a lot of shit he's done. But most importantly, Bruce, I care about you.
Right.
And the way what he's done to you, the way he's treated you, the way he's made this personal against you,
It's not sitting right.
yeah, like it's a problem for me because of my care for you.
Hmm.
Because I know from my own experience, there are a lot of times where it's like, if you do something to me, that's one thing. But if you do something to my people,
That's another.
that's a different thing.
Yeah.
And so that's where she's sitting because he only like used poison ivy to manipulate her. Like, so she's like, what he did to me, that's one thing. What he did to you,
Exactly.
that's my problem.
Yeah. It's like my dad always tells me, or whenever, I talk to my dad, he'd be like, you could talk about me, you could talk about the car I drive, you could talk about how much money I got, but don't talk about my kids.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like one of those things. You do whatever you want to me. I'm gonna be mad at you, or I'm gonna be mad in that moment, or whatever. Don't you dare touch my people.
Yeah. And so I think that, along with the fact that she's morally gray, I think
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
that's the real reason
Mm.
that she was like, nah, he got to go.
Yeah.
And so, because I see what he put you through,
Right.
like you have not been able to Like I know that you care about me, but you haven't been able to really care about me because he has been on your mind. Because
Exactly.
he has been like, no, we got to get rid of him.
You
And so
you've been visibly stressed.
yeah, and I don't like it. Like we were having a fun little chase game and he almost killed you with concrete. Nah, he got to go. Got to go. And so he tries to save him.
Oh,
He tries to save him, and she cuts the line. She's like, because also the third thing, and probably the most important thing, this place is about to explode, and I'm not gonna die in here.
right.
Not for him.
Not for him.
I'm not gonna die in here for him, and you not either.
And you not
So
either.
we're leaving. He can work that out himself, but we are leaving.
And we
And
got a vacation. And we got a vacation to go to.
yeah, like now that that's handled,
Yeah.
we can go to Cabo or
Right,
whatever.
right.
And so that is when they are able to escape. And Batman is basically like, why would you do that? I could have saved him. And that's when she was like, what the fuck did you just say?
Dog.
And when because you're not supposed to agree with Selena in this situation, but I was like, no, Selena is absolutely right.
100%.
And
And go ahead, go
and
ahead.
and she was basically like, I don't, you are obsessed. Like, and I think where it's an issue is you have Selena saying to Bruce, hey, you didn't want to kill this guy. You're the one with the problem. And that sounds really backwards because we're supposed to be in the whole, killing is bad, no killing under any circumstances, yada, yada, yada. But the way that it's framed is like, who is right? Because Selena is saying, hey, you're you're delusional
Yeah.
because you refused to kill this person who you didn't even have to kill him. You just let him die. You
Yeah,
didn't kill him,
really.
but you wouldn't even let him die after everything that he's done. That is obsessive. And I don't think I can get with that because while my way is morally gray, like I don't think I can be with somebody who's not willing to pull the trigger under any. There are circumstances that facilitate pulling the trigger.
Absolutely.
And so for you to say that you would under no, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to
And
work that out.
and that's my biggest this is what I was saying earlier with the whole moral compass. That's my biggest and I know it's like different variants and everything of like all the characters. But me personally, when it comes to Batman as a whole, that is my biggest gripe with that dude. Because you, Batman, are the reason that all this madness and chaos continues to happen in your city because you won't get rid of these dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And you wonder why it's the same stuff happening over and over and over and over again. It's because you won't do anything about it. Throwing them in the Arkham Asylum is not doing anything because you know they're just going to escape.
The fact that, and so that's one of the things I talked about in an earlier episode. Ain't gonna be no second escape.
No.
In the movie, The Killing Joke.
A great movie.
In The Killing Joke,
great movie, Spence.
Batman is, investigating. And Batman goes to visit the ladies of the night. And they say, well, when he usually escapes, he comes here. Ain't gonna be no usually.
Yeah, ain't no nothing.
What the fuck do you mean when he no. Everybody gets one. If I put his ass in Arkham and he escapes once, I will put him back. If he escapes a second time,
that's it.
Y'all cannot hold him. And if y'all can't hold him, then we gonna have to do something else. Because I have an idea.
Yeah.
Like,
Kill him.
not killing him hasn't worked. So have we tried killing
Killing
him?
him?
But that's why I'm not Batman.
See, me either. And every, like I said, I know every good character, has the morality, has that right thing to do side to them. But even, and like I said, I keep alluding to Spider-Man, but that's the guy that I know the most. And I know this is DC, but even Spider-Man has a huge, moral compass. But Spence, even Spider-Man has a few bodies.
And that's there are versions of Batman who have a few bodies. There are
Yeah.
versions of Superman who have a few bodies.
Yeah.
And so, because again, we talked about the Dark Knight Returns. In that movie, he would let people die.
Yeah, that's true.
Like that Batman, he was like, no, sometimes
forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wish, as like I said, just as a whole, man, sometimes you have to cross that line, man.
And that's the thing. I think that might be why The Dark Knight Returns is my favorite movie, because that version of Batman lets a couple slip through the cracks.
He was done. He was like, nah, this ain't.
There are a couple deaths that make it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but again, this is the character. Like, this is what makes Batman Batman, because
True.
if he was
Very
out
true.
killing people, he wouldn't be Batman. He'd
And
be the Punisher.
Wow. He really would be.
And
okay.
So yeah, like we can't. That's not who Batman is, and so
that puts that to sleep. Yep.
Yeah, like, there are people who are about it.
Absolutely.
Be like, the whole reason that he's Batman is the moral compass, because he saw that his parents were murdered, and that's his whole motivation. Like, nobody dies, all of that, and of course we are humans, and we are gray as fuck. So like,
absolutely,
there are situations where somebody got to die.
Yeah.
And I'm good with that.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not Batman.
That's very fair.
And so even in the Injustice storyline, where the Joker makes Superman kill Lois Lane, and Superman puts his hand through his chest, Batman is like, what have you done? I can't believe you would cross that line. And Superman is like, no, fuck that.
Nah, he just made me kill Lois.
Yeah. Lois was pregnant with my child.
Yeah, that was rough.
And he fuck him.
Oh, matter of fact, why would you even say that to me right then and there?
Because that's the thing. Batman is living by that compass, that moral. And so, yeah. Anyway, that's the character. And so I have the same issue. I'm like, because I'm thinking, like, if it was me, if I had, a lot of times we'd be done here.
You're done, buddy.
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah.
You should be lucky it's not me. Because
you're done, buddy.
There are some people whose legs would be broken, but there are some people, no, you're not going back to Ark.
This brings me to a point in the movie. Is just like, and like the ongoing memes of Batman interrogating people just to get some information out of them, and then just leaving their bones broken and everything like that. So it's like, you're okay with interrogating them and absolutely just crippling their entire body just for one piece of info.
Yeah.
But you're not okay with letting someone die after he's like killed one of your best friends and has like affected your entire life and just manipulated everything that could go wrong.
Had you more stressed out than you've been.
But you wanna go tear these dudes both ACLs and break both of their femurs to try and figure out who Hush is or where he's at.
Yeah, because I think it's hilarious. Have you seen Invincible?
Yes, I haven't. I'm not caught up with the second season, but I've seen the first one.
Okay, you know how they just be beating his ass, and he'll just have swollen eyes,
bro.
Like, eyes be swole shut, and Batman will have people looking like that, and then be like,
yes,
now talk.
I physically can't, Batman.
I can't talk. My lips are swollen shut. My jaw is broken.
You ruined my vocal cords.
I can't talk. You want me to use Morse fucking code? That's what you want me to do? Because I
And
can't
then and
talk.
then and then you get mad at me because I can't talk.
This is your
I
fault. You did this to me.
but you won't kill nobody.
Yeah. But you
Okay.
gonna ruin my entire life.
My entire life. You
I
go
can
torture
never
me
use stairs again because of
ever.
you. And now,
And,
yeah.
and I gotta go to jail.
Yeah. And yeah, I gotta get locked up. And you no. You should have finished it.
But you won't kill nobody. Come on, dog. That's what I'm
Oh, all
talking
right.
about, man.
Yeah.
Golly.
I love him though. But one thing that was stupid, uh whenever Catwoman did like get free, uh Hush and Batman were standing in front of each other, and then Catwoman appeared, and then Batman showed up behind her. And I'm like, how the fuck you get over there?
I I actually do not know.
Yeah. I had to rewind it
That
because I was like, did it did he just like
that must have been one of them like, oh, it's just a movie type
that's
moments.
that's exactly what that was. That was a I was
Yeah.
like, the movie's gotta happen. Or
Yeah.
somebody just forgot. Somebody let that thing
Mm-hmm.
slide because
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And there's always a moment in a movie where I get nitpicky and I'm like, but how though?
That moment was really weird though.
Yeah. But I do like that Catwoman's cat's name was Eartha. I like that because Eartha Kitt was Catwoman back in Adam West's Batman.
Oh.
And so that was an homage to Eartha Kitt. I like
See,
that.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
Mm.
They be slipping in some little things.
They do. I didn't catch that one though.
And so,
Hmm.
Kelton, scale of 1 to 10, what are you thinking?
Whew. I gave this movie I give this movie a solid like 8.3 out of 10.
Okay.
I love the storyline. Uh, the storyline was amazing. Uh, I love the animation. The fight scenes were really good. I loved how they intertwined everybody, like all the characters. I loved how they really showed, kind of, Bruce Wayne and Batman, really as a human.
Mhm.
Because most of the time, like I said earlier, you don't really get to see that vulnerability from him because he's just so, he has that tunnel vision. So where he's just
Yeah.
focused. He ain't really got time to think about anything like that. Go
He
ahead.
is he is often the definition of standing on business,
Standing on business at
as
all
the youth
times.
say. Yeah.
Yeah, at all times. But in this one, man, they showed his humanity in this one, and I liked how they involved had Catwoman involved with this, and I just think in totality it was just a really solid movie. So I said 8.3, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think 8.3 out of 10 is I think a perfect rating. The perfect way I can rate the movie for me. What about you?
I'm giving an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Um, I enjoyed it. It did a lot of things very well.
Hmm.
Honestly, most of the movies that exist in this universe are really good.
Yeah.
They don't have really very many misses in
No.
this universe, and so
No.
yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. But there were a couple things I'm like, ah, okay.
I was just about to ask what could they have done, or let me ask you this: why is it not a 10 out of 10,
I think
or
that
at least a 9?
I think that there's a lot of stuff that we kind of well, I guess that's not necessarily an issue. I was going to say there's a lot of stuff that we were able to pull out of the movie that wasn't explicitly stated.
Hmm.
Um which is not necessarily a bad thing, but
Right.
I think that um I think the comic book did it a little better.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Okay.
there are times when the movie is better or the comic book is better or I like one more than the other. And in this case, I think I like the comic book layout for this a little better. It's mostly pretty the same. but I think that the comic book had a little more going on, and another thing in the comic book, Lex Luthor was not the head of LexCorp. Talia was. I just remembered that, but
Oh,
yeah, and so I mean that, and there are just little changes like that. So they just did a lot of like swapping people out to make it make sense in this world. But I think that Jason Todd, like Clayface being Jason Todd, was just so good in the comic book. Like
I
when I was reading that comic, I was like, I was like, oh my god.
yeah, I really wish, but I mean, in theory, seeing that would have been really cool on the movie, but I know it had to make sense with, the characters that were already in that universe and stuff like that. But
Oh
that
yeah,
that I need to read the comic now because of
yeah.
that.
Because they again, like we thought it was Two Face, but it wasn't.
Hmm.
We thought it was Jason Todd, but it wasn't. But it
Right,
kind of was. We thought it was Thomas Elliot, but it
right.
wasn't. Because that's another thing we find out in the comic book is that Thomas Elliot is the reason he's actually pissed off is because he wanted his parents to die that night so that he could inherit the money. So he wasn't mad at Bruce's dad for not saving his dad. He was mad because he did save his mom.
Mm.
And that was another thing that I was not ready for. I was like, "Oh, so Thomas is a piece of shit." He was he was mad that his mom lived instead of being mad that his dad died because he
As
wanted his parents to die that night.
as an 8-year old,
Yeah.
that's concerning.
Yep. And so that again, I think the comic book did it a little better.
Okay, that's fair.
And so, but I mean, still a good story, still well
Hmm.
done. I didn't have any like glaring issues with how this turned out, but
Right,
yeah.
that's
Um,
fair.
so yeah. Anything else on the movie?
I honestly think that I think we talked about everything that that I thought we were going to talk about. I can't really think of anything. I can't really think of anything else. I love Nightwing in the movie. I think Nightwing was a great part of it. I think he added some great comedic relief.
And also,
Um,
he was a part of making Bruce human. Like he was a
yes,
big part of making Bruce human
yes,
in this movie.
very.
Because he was even like,
Yeah,
"Hey, this whole thing with Selena, I want you to know that I support it."
yeah,
And Bruce is like, "What? What? Uh,
yeah.
I don't need your approval. I just want you to know
I want you to know.
that like her being a part of your life, I love it,
Yeah,
and I think that yeah, I think you should make this thing happen."
yeah. I Nightwing was great. Nightwing was great, and in fact, I think he's probably one of my favorite characters in this movie.
Okay,
Yeah,
I like it. All right, I agree. I enjoyed Nightwing in this.
yeah. But that's all I got.
All righty. In the next movie, we will be discussing Wonder Woman Bloodlines. So until then, salutations.